Update. My dad disowned my sister and he is dying. How do I convince her to let him go? Original post. Backstory. My family used to be really close, but that changed in 2003 when my dad, 55 male, discovered that my mom, 54 female, was having an affair with John, 54 male, my dad's childhood best friend. He was basically his brother back then, and he was my dad's best man in his wedding with mom. He begged her to stay and work things out, but my mom ended up leaving him for John. And eventually they got a divorce and my mom ended up marrying John 5 months later. My twin sister Sarah, 27 female, was always the stereotypical daddy's girl. Dad spoiled her a bit more than the rest of us, and she was basically his shadow back then. That's why it was really surprising to us that Sarah chose to stay with our mom after the divorce. Back then, me, 27 male, and her were the only ones to still live with our parents. We have other 4 brothers. I chose to stay with Dad, and Sarah chose to live with Mom, and in the weekends she come to stay with me and Dad while I choose to stay with Dad, and I occasionally went to Mom's house. To say that the divorce and my sister choosing to stay with Mom messed up my dad is an understatement. He tried to act like he was okay in front of us, but every single weekday for the year following the divorce, I could hear him cry himself to sleep. After the divorce, the relationship between Sarah and Dad didn't change that much. He started to spoil her a bit more than the usual and still remained the usual super dad. Showing up in every parent-teacher conference, ballet recitals and soccer matches, and being the most present dad possible. Things started to change when she suddenly changed her mind about med school. Our dad is a surgeon, and she always said that she wanted to follow his steps. But Mom and John ended up pressuring her to change her career path to become a lawyer, as Mom and John are both lawyers. During her studies, John started mentoring her, and they become really close. And after she finished her education, he got her a job at his law firm. Now on to the issue. In 2017, Sarah got married. My dad was absolutely thrilled about her wedding, and he gave Sarah a blank check for her dream wedding. To be fair, he did this to all of us, as he really liked weddings. But in Sarah's case, he was really excited, because she's his only daughter, and I always remembered him talking about walking her down the aisle. Like every wedding that we went to, he always said to her that he couldn't wait for the day to walk down his little girl down the aisle. But one day before the wedding, Sarah drops the bomb that Dad and John will be walking her down the aisle together. Well, Dad is the most non-confrontational person to walk on this earth, and she expected him to just suck it up. But he didn't do that. They got into a huge fight. First time I see him get angry. And in the end, he didn't attend the wedding and John ended up walking Sarah down the aisle. The fallout was massive. After the wedding, Dad and the side of our family basically disowned her and their relationship became non-existent. She tried to reach out after a while and make amends several times, but he simply didn't want to talk or hear about her. We expected him to turn around when she gave birth in 2018, but he doesn't even want to meet her kids. Then earlier this year, he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. And unfortunately, the treatment didn't work and he is terminal. Even with that, he still doesn't want to see her again and she doesn't understand that. I'm very close to my dad, and these last few weeks are really difficult for me. How do I convince her to let him go? Now for the top advice before reading the update. There really isn't anything you can do. There is no way to make this less awkward or horrible for her. She made her choices years ago. Now she has to live and die with the consequences. I know you would like to make it easier, but I would just step back from this. The only statement should be, I'm sorry, Dad still doesn't want to see you. And spend all your energy on your dad, not on a dead relationship. I would say that by her choosing the man who took his wife and life away to walk her down the aisle, that she was the one who chose to disown her father. She needs to live with the consequences. Absolutely. To wait a day before the wedding to drop that bomb? She knew it wasn't going to go over well. Terrible situation all around. Are people glossing over the fact that the daughter took her dad's money for a dream wedding, and after it was spent, then she tells him, oh, by the way, that dream of you walking me down the aisle? You need to share that dream with the guy that stole your wife and split up your family. That was an absolute scumbag move. It's what I was thinking. The dad was a walking bank account to her, and she never considered all the efforts he did for her. Yes, it's okay to change plans and decide different careers, but he spoiled her, loved her unconditionally, followed her with admiration and care, and she brings a blow like this upon the father who lost everything. She took him for granted. Daddy, thanks for paying for my dream wedding. I need to tell you one thing. I want you to walk me down the aisle with the guy that screwed mommy behind your back and then stole her away. Do you remember him? Your former best friend turned most hated enemy? Yeah, I want to give that man equal honor as father of the bride. I don't understand why you're upset, Daddy. All of this. Any idiot would know that this would cause a problem. And she had to be a cruel, spineless person to spring this on her dad on the day of the wedding rehearsal. And now for the update. A week after I posted the original post, my dad started getting worse. His health started declining really fast, and we lost him exactly 1 month ago. It wasn't pretty. I never thought it would be, but I never thought it would be that heartbreaking. He was in a lot of pain. He's been through so much in these last months. As heartbreaking as it was to us, he deserved to rest. He was tired. In the end, he was lucid enough to say his goodbyes to me and my older brothers. Hearing him saying what he said to me was one of the most painful and beautiful moments of my life. His words to me meant a lot. I won't say exactly what he said because I believe it's just too personal. He said goodbye to my daughters, 11 months old and 2 years old. It was just like when I was a kid. He gave them a kiss on the forehead, told them to be good girls, and said that he loved them. It was something I won't ever forget, and it hurts like hell that they are so young to understand what happened. They still ask about Grandpa, and every time I try to explain to them that he isn't coming back, they don't seem to understand that. And how can I blame them? I'm only 27 years old. I honestly don't get it. I was supposed to get a lot more years with my dad. It doesn't seem fair at all. But the worst part was my twin sister, Sarah. Dad died without speaking to her. I tried to talk to him about her, but he wasn't interested in speaking with her. She started getting more desperate, and suddenly he died. It was expected, but she was in denial. His funeral was beautiful. A lot of people shared their stories about him. It was nice. Sarah saw Dad for the first time since the night before her wedding, and she didn't recognize him. He was very skinny. Dad was always a bit overweight, the famous dad bod, but he had lost a lot of weight from cancer. She cried a lot during the whole funeral. Mom and John tried to show up at the ceremony, and my uncles were forced to kick them out of the funeral. Good freaking riddance. Dad's will went as expected as it could. Dad's family came from old money, petrochemicals, so he always had a lot of money. He left a little bit of money and properties divided equally to all his kids, including Sarah. He left a trust fund which was a lot of money for all his grandkids, including Sarah's kids, which he never met. It was honestly expected. My dad never really cared about money that much. He just wanted us to be comfortable and ensure that his grandkids all had something to support them. The tricky part was the personal things. He left a really big letter to all of us, except Sarah. It was really personal stuff. In my letter, he spoke to me about our story, about my childhood. It was really nice. I must have read the letter like 100 times, and I cried every single time. One of Dad's favorite hobbies was photography. He was quite an enthusiast, and the subject of his photos was pretty much our family, when he and Mom were together. Later, it turned out to be just me and my siblings. As a result of this, we had a lot of pictures from us growing up. He gave each of us a photo album, and behind each photo, he wrote something, where it was taken in a few words. I was honestly very surprised with this. He must have done this long before he died. It was a very thoughtful goodbye gift, something that was very typical of Dad. Sarah didn't get any letter, and her album didn't have anything wrote behind her photos, and when she found out about this, she had a mental breakdown. The regret was eating her alive. Still is. She was admitted to a hospital and spent an entire week there. She's doing a bit better now, getting a little better every day. Her husband and I are really confident in her recovery. She's sleeping and eating almost normally now. She still starts to cry randomly multiple times on a daily basis, but it's getting better. At least that's what I'm telling to myself. Which brings us to last week. My wife and I discovered that we are expecting again. It wasn't planned or anything like that. My wife switched birth controls last month, and she spends a week without taking the pill. It's still very early in her pregnancy, so we haven't told anyone yet. The thing is that I'm really angry. I'm angry that my future kid is not going to be able to meet Dad. I'm freaking pissed, honestly. It doesn't seem fair at all. I'm angry and I'm scared. My dad was supposed to guide me in the whole parenthood process. He was teaching me a lot with my daughters. Now I'm scared of doing this without him. I'm scared of not being a good father like he was to me, because my kids deserve that. This is it, folks. This whole situation could be a lot better. I play the what-if scenario in my head every day. Unfortunately, it doesn't change anything. This is honestly a bitter ending. Doesn't seem fair at all. But that's the thing about life. It's actually never fair. I want to thank everyone who gave me advice and to everyone who reached out and offered their support in the chat. I was very lonely at the time. Still am. It meant a lot to me. Thank you, Reddit. This whole situation is sad. It really is. Listen, bud, let me tell you something. Your amazing dad did his job, and he gave you whatever he could pass on to you. Best thing you can do is live according to the good things he taught you. Grab a book and start journaling all your best memories. Talk to your family members. Write down what they remember too. This is the time to do it while memories are fresh. Losing him is sad, but find happiness in also realizing that whatever hardships he had in life are also over. Now you need to do your best to be as great a father as he was, so your children can benefit from him through the hands of the son who raised with his own 2 hands. I wish you the best in your journey forward. Jeez. John must have really done a number on your sister to make her think that having her bi-dad walking her down the aisle with a man that betrayed him and destroyed his family was going to be a reasonable thing to ask. Lots of women have their stepdads and their bi-dads walk them down the aisle together, but not when there was cheating involved. Did she know about the cheating? It just seems like a completely tone-deaf request. Dad probably felt used by daughter. Like one more time he was set aside because of John. On a wedding that he paid for. He must have been so heartbroken and pissed. How cold-hearted was she, man? I cannot imagine the pain he went through. Wow. The sheer arrogance it took for your mom and stepdad to show up at your dad's funeral is hard to fathom. What did they think was going to happen? Oh, hey everyone. Everybody knows we betrayed and caused more pain to this man than even his cancer. But hey, we wanted to be here and give our condolences to our former husband and best friend. I'm sorry your twin sister didn't get to make amends with your dad, but what was she thinking when she wanted the man who caused the destruction of her parents' marriage to walk her down the aisle with her dad? Choices have consequences, and she's dealing with them now. What is your sister's relationship like with you and your brothers? Or the rest of the family? We are all very close. I am particularly close with her because, well, we are twins. Shared a womb and stuff, but our older brothers love her and she loves them as well. She was always a bit spoiled by them, the privilege of being the only girl in the family. Now, for the last story, my entire family disowned me because I cheated on my girlfriend. Now my sister wants to reconcile on her wedding day, but I declined because they are dead to me. Basically what the title says. I cheated on my girlfriend. I did not cheat on her. She wanted to open up the relationship, but I found out later that she just wanted to sleep with a certain someone. When she found out that I had also started sleeping with someone else, well, she didn't take it very well and told me to stop seeing her. I declined, saying that I hadn't broken any of the rules we agreed upon, and she just went nuclear on me and told my family that I had cheated on her. To say that they didn't take it well would be an understatement. They basically disowned me. My dad had been cheated on twice before he met my mom, and my mom's ex-husband left her and their kid, my half-sister, for a woman half his age. And in addition, my younger sister met one of those stereotypical jocks that treated her like crap and constantly cheated on her. So yeah, my entire family, parent, sister, and half-sister just loathed cheaters. My ex, who my entire family loved like one of their own, told them that I was cheating on her. It also told them the type of acts we were having, and they just disowned me. I tried talking with them for 3 to 4 months to have them hear out my side of the story, but they refused to even see me, much less talk with me. The final straw was when I went to my parents' house on my birthday while it was raining at 11 in the night, begging them to talk to me, but they ended up calling the police on me. My friends also treated me the same. It's been about 2.5 years now, and I've been doing okay. I moved away to another state, and I don't really have a social life anymore and put all of my energy on either my job or the gym. Then I got a call yesterday from my sister, saying that she was getting married, and she wanted me to be there with her on her special days as we used to be very close, which is true, and that she is willing to forgive and forget. I asked her to expand on that, and she told me that she is willing to forgive me for cheating on someone, and isn't willing to forget that I was a horrible human being for doing so. I told her that I am not available, and have a good day, never to contact me again, and hung up without explaining. My phone is now blasted with messages and calls which I have not bothered listening to. Now, should I actually be trying to reconcile with them because they are my family? Because I really don't want to. They dropped me without ever listening to me and just shunned me for something that I didn't even do. Also, one more thing I wanted to ask you guys. Is this something I should get therapy for? I don't know much about therapy. The only person I have told my story to is my secretary, and she advised me to get some. Now for the advice. You should do what feels best for you. You are in no way obligated to reconnect with your family. In my opinion, your family betrayed you when they left you without even hearing your side of the story. Therapy might be an option. Your words about no more social life and opening up only to your secretary make me suspect that you are deeply wounded and may need healing through outside help. It did hurt, and still does to this day, but the way my father described therapy, that it was only for people who had gone through severe mistreatment only. I was supposed to just get over everything else. Is this something I should get therapy for? I think so. It sounds like there's something deeply wrong about your family from the get-go. Especially this part. I asked her to expand on that, and she told me that she is willing to forgive me for cheating on someone, and isn't willing to forget that I was a horrible human being for doing so. I have a lot of trouble understanding just why she still seems to be adamantly believing your ex. Were you always the black sheep in the family? I wasn't the black sheep. I was just a boy. Like, I was never supposed to have any feelings. I was never supposed to cry. That sort of thing. What is your understanding as to why your entire family seems adamant in not considering your point of view at all? The way I understand it, in this situation, I was introduced to them as a cheater by a girl that they love as much as their own daughters. I was guilty from the get-go, and they never considered my ex to be lying. They just considered her to be a victim here, I suppose. They demanded I apologize to her, and when I wouldn't and just asked to talk to them, they thought I was lying. They never considered me to be the victim here. This is the way I understand it. I don't know for sure because I haven't really talked to them since. Update. Am I the a-hole for throwing my brother's prison trauma in his face to prove a point? Original post. My brother has always been an angry, hot-headed thug. Since he was a small kid, he showed violent behavior, idolized gangs, and would just generally be a prick to everyone. He's the kind of guy that goes on about respecting him and tries to intimidate everyone just because he can. When he was a teenager, it escalated dramatically, and our parents tried whatever they could to fix it. He started using drugs when he was 16. By the time he was 19, he went to prison for 2 years. Prison changed him. After he got out, he was not the same guy. He flinched when you touched him, slept with the lights on, and added an extra lock to the door of his room when he stayed with my parents. He was broken. He eventually had a full-blown mental breakdown where he started talking about what happened. It was about as bad as you expected. His combative nature isolated him day one and made him a target for all kinds of abuse this entire sentence. He's been in therapy for years. He's 32 now. He went back to school, met a nice woman, and is actually turning his life around. Our relationship isn't perfect, and it will never be fully healed, but he's trying to actually be a human being. The problem has been the last couple months. You can see it on his face, the way he acts. He's slowly going back to his old ways. He acts aggressive around mom and dad. When he's out, he tries to pick fights again. The people he hangs around with are known violent felons and suspected dealers. He had a girlfriend for about a year, but she left him because he started frequently screaming, throwing things around their apartment, and threatening to hurt her. It's obvious he's using again. He is slowly unraveling and throwing away years of progress. Our parents tried talking to him, offered rehab, offered for him to stay with them for some time. He flipped out at our parents, and after years of his crap, they simply walked away and blocked him for the time being. They spent years and countless dollars before and after his sentence to try and help him. They were done. I tried talking to him. His place was a mess, and he had empty alcohol bottles and pill containers scattered around his place.
He got hostile very quickly when I pointed out the obvious and threatened me. I snapped and brought up what he told us about his prison time and told him it would all be waiting for him again if he doesn't fix his act, and that this time his family won't be waiting to help clean up his mess. It shut him down super quickly, and he just curled up on a couch and weakly told me to leave. I felt terrible since I brought it up, but he is gladly throwing away years of progress for the same crap that got him in trouble in the first place. He knows what prison is like, and he is doing everything he can to go back there. He's spitting in the face of everyone who went to bat for him chasing the same heights that almost destroyed his life. Now for the top comments before reading the updates. Tough love. Tough for you having to say it to your brother, and tough for him being reminded of that time. Not a-hole. Not a-hole. Sometimes you just can't help the drowning man who's slapping you away from saving him. Even if they're family, they're not worth it, despite the emotional connection. There are thousands of people who are in your brother's position, and they're actively trying their darnest to stay on course for their family, friends, and themselves. Not a-hole. Somewhere along the lines, he fell back in with bad people who had him relapse, and somehow he compartmentalized his past prison trauma, probably to justify his relapse and tell himself it's okay. You are giving him a loud reminder to wake up if he doesn't want to go through all that again. It may be tough, he may think you're the a-hole, but he probably 100% needed to hear it. I hope he reaches out to you, since you seem to still be open to contact, and asks for help so he can get better again. Now for the first update. Last night, my brother got high and trashed his apartment. He punched holes in the walls, destroyed furniture, and busted windows. Utterly destroyed his place. He tried kicking a neighbor's door in and throw rocks through their window when they yelled they were calling the police, and threatened to unalive them. Police came. He tries fighting them and got himself beat badly. They took him to the hospital. He calmed down for enough time to call me to the hospital. It was unintelligible, but I got the gist of it. And yes, I shouldn't have gone to see him. But by the time he got there, he had lost his mind again and was in 4-point restraints. He was screaming and practically feral. I couldn't even get any words in before I decided to leave. From what I can gather from the cops there I talked to, they found a ton of drugs. He assaulted a police officer, destroyed his apartment, and damaged a neighbor's front door and window, threatened to end a neighbor, tried to escape arrest, hit a nurse, bit a tech, and to top it off, he was already in trouble for sending threats to his ex. So yeah, he's going back to prison for a much longer time. I'm done with him. Our parents are done. Everyone is done with him. And frankly, I'm very okay with that since I finally am free of the stress he brings. He didn't learn a damn thing. I'd ask for the family to get together and address how he is to be handled going forward. Make your wishes known and explicit. You'll want to address your no contact with them as well, so they don't let onto how to locate you or contact info should you happen to move. That's not an issue. To clarify, the only person I'm going no contact with is my brother. My parents and extended family are joining in going no contact with him. Congrats on your parents being done with him. My husband has a brother who has done that kind of stuff his whole life. In and out of prison, and almost certainly unalived their beloved uncle. Their parents worship the ground he walks on. Lifelong eternal golden child. He is the preferred invite to holiday events over my successful engineer husband and our family of 6. The evil one is older now and out of prison, currently living in the aging parents' home and running the show. I hope your family is great and loves him, and you can spend all the holidays at their place. F his parents. I hope they'll enjoy their old age in the hands of a psychopath who'll take all their pension off them. My mother covered up for my sister until the day she died, but my sister was nowhere like this. She was just an alcoholic that got enough DUIs to go to prison for a short time. Even then, our mother said she was in inpatient treatment. The golden child never does anything wrong. My mom went to prison for 4 years when I was 5. Grandma adopted me because my dad was not fit. I was never mad. Always made my whole schedule around going to see her on visit days, answering every single phone call. She got out, got back with my dad. 45 days later, she had to finish her sentence. She got 10 years total, but only had to serve 4. I will never forget jumping on my trampoline, being handed a phone, and hearing her tell me she got drunk and high. I stopped jumping and told her I am done. I grew up that day. So no, you're not the a-hole. Some people never learn a thing, and they expect sympathy for having a pattern of horrible decisions. Now for the last update. It may not have been the best idea, but I decided to have one final talk with my brother the other day before I made my decision to cut him off. After his episode at a hospital, he has been locked up for the time being. No one has even attempted to bail him out. I have no idea about how charges or a trial are going, but it will take a while. As far as I can tell, there is some matter of determining a possible psych hold, but there's a lot of gray area with that, and I frankly don't have much of an idea how that works and won't get myself more involved to find out. We only got the chance to talk for a few minutes. I did visit. He called me over the phone. I straight up asked him what was going on. Why did he do this? What caused the slip the last few weeks? And the thing was, I was expecting some emotional response, a plea for help, maybe even some reasoning. But that didn't happen. Instead, he asked, why not? I asked what he meant by that, and he just kinda smugly laughed a little. He started rambling about how the bitch, his ex, should watch out for him when he gets out. I quickly reminded him that these calls are monitored, and he needs to watch his freaking mouth. He told me to go F myself, and he only called to see if I would post his bail. I was practically pleading, asking him why he was doing this. He got agitated, said he doesn't freaking care, started screaming how he doesn't need us. And you could hear him get into a scuffle with what I'm assuming was an officer watching him before the call got cut. I was practically speechless. He doesn't care, and maybe never did. Some people in the comments and DMs were making assumptions about myself and my parents, how he handled his behavior and mental health care. Ever since he was a kid, my parents spent every spare dime and minute of their lives trying to help him. Pediatric mental health care, therapy, group activities, extracurriculars, anything to try and steer him on the right path. They put me on a back burner for years because of him. Our relationship almost got tanked because they wanted to help him so much. When he got out of prison and had his breakdown, it was practically a clean slate for him. He never apologized for what he did. He didn't have to own up to his family for what he put us through. We all just try to help. And he took the second chance people would crawl over broken glass for and threw it in our faces. Well, good for him. He gets what he wants, to be utterly alone in prison. I'm no fool. He likes to push us far and try and reel us back in. But after this, I am truly and utterly done. Our parents are in the process of removing him completely from their lives. They are livid. He's spending a much longer time in prison, and if he ever gets out and looks for someone to help him pick up the pieces of his life, he's going to be sorely disappointed. We try to help. He didn't want it. I'll answer some questions if anyone had any for a few days before torching the account. To be honest, I feel it would be wise to be sure that when/if he gets out, there is no one for him to come crawling to. I don't necessarily mean move, though that might be smart if it's possible to accomplish. Especially for the ex who was literally threatened in your conversation. But I think you and your parents, and everyone, need to make your worlds as though he no longer exists. He gets out. Family? He has none. These people don't know him. Friends? I'd be shocked if he had any before he landed his stupid butt back in prison, so that might not be an issue. But it's time to burn the final bridge. Torch it down. Ashes to ashes, OP. Honestly, I felt this so hard. My brother has been a lot like OP's, except he got into drugs early, and that has probably gave him mental health issues. He has stolen from family, friends, and has pushed everyone away due to him being on drugs. He skipped out on the bail my mom posted for him, and then when caught, wanted me to pay for his bail. But I said no. I say that because he only half-heartedly apologizes about it, but then a minute later will ask for something from you. He only cares about himself, and doesn't care about anyone else. Not even his kids. Unfortunately, by the time he gets out to the 2030s, our mother will more than likely be dead, and his kids might have kids of their own. He finally figured out that his actions have consequences. Some people are just born like that. It's not something that happened to them. We haven't really been able to find interventions to bring them back to live safely in the human community, and these people vacillate between outrage that they don't get to do whatever they want, and depression because their life sucks. And they cannot or will not grasp why. You all really tried. Now it's up to him to either stay in the system or get it together. Last story. Am I the a-hole for kicking my in-laws out of my house after they disrespected my late father's memory? I, 25 female, lost my father a year ago. He was the kindest person in the world and worked as an EMT. He died after being hit by a drunk driver while trying to help another driver with a car trouble. He was my hero and a huge part of my life. He became a widower father to me when I was 7, and he was the best dad anybody could ever ask for. To honor his memory, I keep a small shrine in our living room with his photo, some of his belongings, and a few of his favorite things, along with his urn. It brings me comfort and helps me feel like he's still with me. My husband, 30 male, has always been supportive of this, but his parents, both in their 60s, have never understood. They think it's morbid and unhealthy to keep such a display. They've made their opinions known multiple times, but I've always brushed it off, explaining it helps me cope. This past weekend, my in-laws came to visit. From the moment they arrived, they were making snide comments about the shrine. My mother-in-law said, "It's time to let go of the past." And my father-in-law chimed in with, "It's not good for your mental health to live in a museum of grief." I told them, firmly but politely, that the shrine stays and is not up for discussion. Things escalated quickly. When I left the room to take a phone call, they decided to take matters into their own hands. I walked back in to find them packing away my father's things into a box. I was livid. I told them to stop immediately and put everything back. They refused, saying they were helping me move on. I lost it. I yelled at them to get out of my house. My mother-in-law started crying, saying I was ungrateful and that they were just trying to help. My father-in-law called me hysterical and said I was disrespecting them. My husband tried to mediate, but I was too furious to listen. I told them they had no right to touch my father's things and that they were not welcome in my home if they couldn't respect my boundaries. I discovered as I was putting things back that some of my belongings I had placed on a shrine were gone. A small stuffed cat, his mat for Magic the Gathering, and a shot glass from screeching in when I went to Newfoundland with my mom before she died of cancer. All 3 things have very low value monetarily, but a lot of sentimental value. My husband has told me I'm overreacting over a molehill, and that I'm just sensitive because I was a daddy's girl when my dad was alive. I'm having a hard time letting go of my dad because we were so close. He was literally my best friend for the last 5 years of his life. I may be so swamped in my own grief that I was an a-hole over nothing. I'm confused and sad. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. I would be on my way to the local police department to get a no trespassing and to find out if what they did was considered a form of grave desecration, since this is literally where you have his ashes and the things he would have been buried with, had that been the route you chose. My next stop would be a lawyer to file for legal separation, since husband thinks it is fine for his parents to steal a dead person's effects. Your husband is the biggest a-hole here. He doesn't have your back. He let his parents put your father's belongings into a box while you were out of the room. They stole objects, and your husband is telling you that you are the problem? Screw him, not the a-hole. I think he may have instigated it. He may have complained, and his parents decided to take action. It is telling that he allowed it. My brother used to pull that same nonsense before he ended up divorced. Complained to mommy about wife. Mom comes to the rescue. Mom is the bad guy. Brother plays dumb. Is this the case here? Not a-hole. And F them all. Husband too. They're guests. They do not have the right to rearrange a single photo on a mantelpiece, let alone pack up and steal, /lose, /break sentimental items. You can grieve as you choose. It is absolutely not their place to decide, while you are out of the room, to do anything like this. It's a year. Just a year. And it's not like you have given the whole house over to your wonderful father, or are living in a darkened room dressed all in black. This is a hill to die on, OP. Your husband is being so wrong. You being a daddy's girl makes his loss harder to bear, so he should have more compassion. Sorry for your loss, Hopi. I hope hubby can do something to save his own reputation with you, so he's not lost too. Also find out who took your property and get it back. Tell your in-laws that you will call the cops if your belongings are not returned by tonight. And sit hubby down and tell him in no uncertain terms will you let them in the house. If your husband can't support you in this, tell him to go back to his disrespectful parents. I'm sorry, OP, for your loss, and hugs from an internet stranger. I'm wondering if this was the reason for the visit all along, with the husband being in on it. Maybe I'm just too cynical about this, but it seems too abrupt to be a spur-of-the-moment action. How did they suddenly come up with a box? Right? Like they thought it was some kind of intervention and the husband grossly miscalculated. Yeah, I agree with this line of thought. OP, you are not the a-hole here, and we all think your husband was part of this plan. Tell them you'll be calling the police if your belongings aren't immediately returned to you in their original condition, and tell your a-hole husband he's welcome to go home to mommy if your dad's memory is too intimidating for him to live with.
Am I the a-hole for telling my boyfriend that he can't date younger and then get upset about my budget apartment? So I recently got together with a guy for my hobby. He asked me out first, and I had some doubts that we'd work together as a couple because of the age difference. He's 35 and I'm 22. So in my apartment, since it's an old house that was originally a single-family house, there isn't much soundproofing and the floors creak when people move. I've gotten used to the sound of the guy upstairs getting up at 4 a.m. since he starts work at 5, and the sound of the girls in the apartments to either side of mine watching telenovelas till midnight, taking work calls all day and having friends over on weekend nights. I know when I play music or have friends over, some of the sounds leak through the walls. So I never get upset about hearing my neighbors because it goes both ways. So, when my boyfriend started coming over more often, he had complaints about the neighbors, which put me in an awkward place. He wanted to go speak to them or have me text them, and I said no. For example, one of the early times he stayed over, we went to bed around 10. He wanted me to ask my neighbor to turn down her TV. I said she didn't have it that loud, and she turns it off at midnight anyway. At 4 a.m., he got very irritated with my upstairs neighbor getting up and cooking breakfast. I said that he would be done by 5 because that's when his shift starts. At 7 a.m., he was still trying to sleep in, and the neighbor on the other side had some work calls and that he said he couldn't sleep through. I offered him earplugs and he said he couldn't sleep with them in either. He wanted me to ask her to quiet down. He had similar comments every time he heard someone else in the building just living their lives, especially if it was when he was in bed. I got frustrated with my boyfriend and told him, you can't expect to date a hot young 22-year-old and not want to deal with a 22-year-old's living situation. I don't know if you realize, but this is a normal apartment for someone my age. Hell, my neighbors are pretty great. Nobody's throwing loud parties on work nights. Nobody's having screaming fights. Nobody's having babies. The hot young part was in sarcastic air quotes because those were his words, not mine. He got irritated and asked why I was bringing age into it. And I said it's because he can't both want someone so young and also want someone with house kind of money. And he was being so out of touch with how normal people in their 20s live. He got really irritated with me bringing age into it, and even more annoyed when I'd respond to his neighbor complaints in the future with, "Okay, boomer," or tell him that if he wanted me to have a rich person apartment, he could pay for it. Am I the a-hole for what I said to my boyfriend about my apartment? Edit. A lot of comments are asking if we could stay at his house. It's not possible for me to get to his house on my own because I don't have a car, and the buses don't go that far into the suburbs. So that would mean him driving 30 minutes from his house in the suburbs to pick me up, then an extra 30 to drive me to his house, then an hour round trip early in the morning to get me home in the time for work. It's a lot easier for him to visit me in the city. Edit 2. A lot of people in the comments are saying technically 35 is a millennial and not a boomer. I know that. I'm using boomer as a joke, or a figure of speech to say, acting out of touch and entitled to tell other people what to do. It is a common figure of speech to say, "Okay, boomer," to someone who is acting entitled regardless of their actual age. It's more of a mindset thing. Now for the top comments before reading the little update. I don't know, man. I think your initial instinct that this wouldn't work out was right, but for more reasons than just age. He seems to have a very low tolerance for mild inconvenience. Not stay home. Yeah, as someone in their 30s who still likes apartment living, I get the impression this dude wants a level of soundproofing that isn't possible. Period. If you can hear people taking work calls, watching TV, and making breakfast, the soundproofing is just bad. I empathize with him because I hated apartment living. I felt like I could never live my life because I'd be a bother to my neighbors,
And conversely, I would get annoyed at my neighbors when the fault really lies with the horrible landlords that build these buildings as cheap as possible and give not a single damn about sound control between units. Not stay home. Do you know why a 35-year-old dates a 22-year-old? Because women his age don't put up with this childish behavior, but a 22-year-old is more likely to be easily guilt-tripped. Good on you for standing up for yourself. Honestly, you might have a common hobby, but you're in a very different places in your life, which can make a relationship difficult if you're not both ready to be understanding. Living in an apartment comes with that burden of hearing other people. I point out to him that they probably hear you all being intimate, but they don't bother you about it. If you can hear that much of what's going on in their apartment, they can hear just as much of what's going on in yours. Not stay home. Women his age don't put up with that behavior. His family in the suburb house she's never been to might. I didn't want to jump straight to her being the other woman. Yep, that's exactly what I thought. And now for the little update. I googled his property records for his house and he co-owns it with a woman who shares his last name. Holy cow. I don't know if she's his wife or ex-wife or what, but I'm out of here. I'm honestly freaking out right now, but I just gotta say, great big thank you to everyone who noticed red flags and made me question that. I've blocked his number. He can have fun figuring out where I went. Next story. Am I the a-hole for embarrassing my boyfriend when we split the bill at a fancy restaurant? I'm 25, my boyfriend is 35, and we have been together for almost exactly 3 years. And a funny coincidence, both of our birthdays and our anniversary, the day we met, all happen in the same week. This year, we decided he would organize a surprise for my birthday. I would organize a surprise for his birthday, and then for our anniversary, we would go out together for a nice dinner to celebrate. We discussed budget in advance, and we agreed that we would split the cost of the dinner. It was a set tasting menu, so we knew the exact price ahead of time. My birthday did not go well. My boyfriend lied to me about taking the day off work and kept disappearing to the bathroom to answer emails and make calls when we were at the museum together. I didn't ask or expect him to take the day off. I'd have been fine doing something in the evening. Then for my present, he gave me a pastry made of a specific ingredient that I'm allergic to, so I couldn't eat it. Then he left at 8 p.m. because he wanted to watch a football game, so I ended up spending my birthday night alone. The next day, I told him I felt like he'd given zero thought to my birthday, and it made me feel like I was a burden on him. He just said he'd done his best, and I need to learn to be grateful when other people try. His birthday went off without any issue. I had specialty food and wine shipped in from his home country, got his favorite childhood recipes from his grandmother, and spent several days preparing a dinner built around his preferences and dietary requirements. He loved it. Then came our anniversary. We agreed in advance to split the bill, but by then I was hoping that he'd offer to cover it. Not because of the money, but as a gesture of apology for how my birthday went. At the end of dinner, I asked if he still wanted to split. He replied, "Yeah, but it would look weird if we ask for separate checks since this is a nice place. So I'll pay here and you can transfer me the money afterwards." I honestly saw red. When the waitress came over with the bill, I said, "We'll actually be splitting." She asked how we wanted to split, and I said I'd pay for the wine and my food. So in total, I paid for about 70% of the bill. My boyfriend just shrugged and paid for the remaining amount. As soon as we left, he said I humiliated him and acted like a spoiled brat, and he couldn't change the past, and I need to learn to move on when I'm annoyed. I said my issue wasn't about changing the past, but one, he hadn't even properly apologized for my birthday or tried to make up for it in any way. And two, he cared more about the restaurant staff thinking that he was a big spender treating me to a fancy dinner, when I'd actually be paying for half of the meal. He said I'm the a-hole because we agreed to split the bill, so I had no right to be annoyed about it. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Just tell him that you did your best and he needs to be grateful when people try. He's clearly putting in no effort, and that's what should humiliate him. Yep. 1, he lied to you about taking a day off, even though, as you said, he didn't need to. 2, he didn't give you attention when you were together. Bad enough. But on your birthday? 3, he couldn't care enough to get you a gift with any thought. I was done with him when he got you a pastry you were allergic to.
4. He had zero interest in planning/taking you to a meal in the evening. 5. Ditched you for a football game. 6. He knows it would look weird to split in the stands, so wants to use you as a cover for himself, instead of doing the right thing. 7. He emotionally guilt/shames and tries to manipulate you. Girl, get out. Find someone who thinks you are important and gets as much joy out of making you feel as special as the effort you put in to make him feel special. You are a rock star, importing favorite wines, making grandma's recipes. I love doing the same kinds of things for people. Gift giving is one of my 5 love languages to others. And this guy's idea of a gift is a croissant? Please don't misunderstand me. If that's a special favorite of someone, then that's thoughtful, like going to an out-of-the-way bakery to get a pastry as a surprise treat that I mentioned once. Or where we went of a first/special date could thrill me, but this was clearly not. If we are broke students and that's what you get me because you know I love it and I know that's a chunk of your weekly money, it would still be sweet. This was just pure laziness and cheapness at 35. He could have saved a few dollars a week for a couple of months since he knew your birthday was coming. This guy could not possibly care less. I would be so out of there. You would be the a-hole to yourself only if you stay with him. Your boyfriend couldn't care less about your birthday and only cared about image at the anniversary dinner. I'd hate to find out what his bad qualities are. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for taking away my wife's car keys because she took away my TV? I've always split my income 50-50 with my wife. She is religious, Baptist, but I'm not. This has never been a problem for us. Until this summer when I got a large raise at my job and I started buying things that she claimed were greedy and consumerist. I just told her I'm using my share of the income and I can buy what I want. I thought that was over her. But last weekend, I finally got a PS5 and bought a 65-inch 8K QLED TV. In total, it was about $5,000. I was really excited to watch the Super Bowl with my friends on it. I'm hosting a little party this year. But my wife was furious. She thought it was a terrible decision, and she didn't care I used my own money. When I came home from work on Monday, today's Thursday, my wife said she took away my TV. And sure enough, it was gone. I looked everywhere for it, but we have a modest 3-bedroom house, so who knows where it is now. I haven't been arguing with her for 4 days, and she's not budging, so this morning I finally snapped. I took away her car keys and also removed her tires. I told her I'll do the grocery shopping and our kids will be fine since they ride a bus, but I'm not giving her that car back until she gets me my TV. She's obviously furious, but the Super Bowl is in 3 days, and I'll be damned if I'm letting her control what makes me happy. So, am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Everyone sucks here. You two should not be married to each other. But are there other people out there that deserve to have to be married to either of them? Not the a-hole. Justified a-hole, really. Yes, I accept your downvotes. Your wife unilaterally made a decision about what I am assuming is fun money. What you did in retaliation was after asking her about it for 4 days. It's petty as hell, and I'm here for it. Agree. What she did was not cool, and she has made no effort to act reasonable. Not a-hole. Spending $5,000 without consent from your spouse is also not cool. He said they split his income 50-50. Which means he has his own spending money and doesn't need to consult her before making a purchase with his portion of the money. If he's giving her half of his money and she has no job, I'm sure this guy can afford a $5,000 TV and PS5 purchase. I'm assuming he has a good job and pays the bills. Everyone sucks here. You two are not partners and you don't even appear to like each other. Do either of you have the ability to sit down and communicate like actual adults? You two are immature and incompatible and should really just divorce. Sitting down and communicating was something I gave her the option to do most of this week, but she needs to accept that too. It doesn't work with only one participant. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for ruining my wife's work and eating the food before she could take pictures of it? My wife runs a website dedicated for cooking and recipes. She takes pictures of food before we eat, whether it's lunch or dinner, and posts them on her Instagram account.
To be honest, I'm annoyed by having to wait so long for her to get the perfect shot of the food after decorating it, adding this fork and removing that salad dish. It just takes so long that I lose my appetite from just waiting till she's done. This has become the norm, but yesterday I decided I was having none of it. I came to find that she has cooked an entire feast as her next cooking project and put it on the table. Note that by looking at the whole table setting, I figured pictures had already been taken, right? But no. She said she was going to take few pictures and I had to wait. She went upstairs to get her camera, and that's when I grabbed the spoon and started filling my plates from every dish she's made, and ruining the look as a result. I was hungry and unwilling to wait around for 10 plus to eat. She came downstairs, saw the damage, and blew up almost crying, saying I just ruined her cooking project that she worked hours for as well as putting efforts into. I said I was hungry and couldn't wait, but she kept yelling how much of an obnoxious jerk I was for not waiting till she took pictures of the dishes she made. Even said that this was an attempt of me to sabotage her success. I said, oh please, enough with those conspiracy theories. I'm just hungry and couldn't wait till she got the perfect shot. We had a big argument and she went upstairs crying. I finished my food then went out to cool off a bit. When I returned, she'd threatened that she'll never have me eat anything she cooks and said she'd rather throw it in the garbage than give it to an ungrateful, obnoxious jerk like me. I said this wasn't cool, but she told me to go screw myself. I said fine, then went to spend the night at the guest room. She texted me the word jerk about 15 times till I turned my phone off. Today she has gone complete radio silence. Am I the a-hole? Jerk. You're the a-hole. My wife cooks elaborate meals for me on a regular basis. I don't have to do anything, not even set the table, except wait for her to finish preparing the meal, which includes photographing it. I think making me wait 10 extra minutes along with the hours it took her to make it while did nothing is too high a price to pay. Am I the a-hole? Yes, you are. My favorite part was him somehow needing to cool off as if she had done anything to him, and he had anything in the world to be upset about. I don't know if I even believe this post is real because it reads like a 14-year-old wrote it, but I do hope that fresh air helped Opit calm down from having gotten what he wanted. That must have been so upsetting for him. You're the a-hole. What the actual heck? Sounds like this is her job or at minimum an important hobby. Keep a Lunchable and a juice box in the fridge for when you need to act like a child. This comment made me snort laugh. You're the a-hole, OP, for Pete's sake. You're the a-hole. Dude, she worked hard on it and you couldn't wait a few minutes while she took pictures? If you can't stand to wait, then make your own food. You did do it to sabotage her since you knew that she hadn't taken any photos yet. Apologize to your wife.